So as everyone gears up to watch Season 5 of Stranger Things, I thought it might be fun to go back to the beginning, to point out something I think a lot of people missed. So check this out. Everyone thinks a monster called the Demogorgon kidnapped Will Byers in episode 1 of Stranger Things. But what if the real monster behind his disappearance wasn't the Demogorgon at all? What if it was actually Hawkins Lab? Because when you look at the clues, the cover-ups, MK-Ultra, and the show's real-world inspiration, the Montauk Project, what you see in Stranger Things Season 1 might be telling you a very different story than you might think. Today I'm going to show you that Will wasn't actually kidnapped by a demon, he was actually kidnapped by the government. Stranger Things was originally titled Montauk. That's not a rumor, that was the real name written in early scripts. Why? Because the entire show is inspired by the Montauk Project, an alleged government experiment where children were used for psychic testing, remote viewing, astral projection, basically MK-Ultra on steroids. Whistleblowers from Montauk claim the government kidnapped children, erased records, drugged them, used sensory deprivation tanks, and forced them to enter realms or dimensions. Sound familiar, right? 11's Black Void, the sensory deprivation room, the government agents, the abductions. It's Montauk with a thin fictional paint job. That's where our theory begins. Season 1 tells us this. Will Byers rides home, a monster appears in his shed, and drags him into the Upside Down. Simple enough, right? But almost immediately, Hawkins Lab steps in. Not just the investigating, the controlling. They tell the police what to think. They assign a shady government coroner. And then boom, they produce a body. A fake body, filled with stuffing. Now why would they need to do that if Will was kidnapped by a monster? And that question is the beginning of the unraveling. Think about it logically. If Will were taken by a creature from a different dimension, he would have just disappeared. He'd be missing, not dead. But the moment Will goes missing, Hawkins Lab instantly takes over the investigation, hides evidence, and replaces the coroner, and plants a corpse. This wasn't a monster attack. This is protocol. This is a government op, the kind where you need to hide your involvement. And that brings us to the moment that directly ties Hawkins Lab to real-world programs. Season 1 actually gives us the smoking gun. Jim Hopper, while investigating Will's disappearance, finds a connection that almost nobody talks about, but it changes everything. He finds documents linking Hawkins Lab to MK-Ultra, the real CIA mind control program. Hallucinations, sensory deprivation, experiments on children, the whole thing. The show doesn't hide it, it paints it in neon lights. Stranger Things is telling you Hawkins Lab is MK-Ultra. And MK-Ultra did kidnap people. They did experiment on unwitting subjects. They did force psychic projection experiments. So why wouldn't they have done that to Will? Hopper's discovery is the bridge between fiction and our reality. Next question, if Hawkins Lab did abduct Will, then what was the Demogorgon? Here's the thing, the Demogorgon rarely interacts with the physical world. Almost all of its presence is electrical disturbances, flickering lights, psychic impressions, distorted visions. The moment Will sees the Demogorgon, everything behaves like a spiritual or psychic episode, not a physical abduction. Joyce hears him through the walls, but those walls aren't physically breaking. This isn't a monster breaking into our world, it's a manifestation into the psychic realm. The real horror might not be the creature, but what Hawkins Lab forced Will to experience. See, 11 is the key here. She can access the Upside Down without a portal, without a machine, no gate. She can get there just using her mind. That's astral projection. That's MK-Ultra 101. So if 11 can access it psychically, why couldn't Will? And if Will was part of a previous experiment, even unknowingly, he could have been pulled in the same way. Which explains why Joyce hears him as if he's in the walls, why he appears to be everywhere and nowhere, and why Hopper and Joyce must go to the lab, because Will is at Hawkins Lab. So here's where we put the theory all together. Will Byers wasn't abducted by a physical monster. He was taken spiritually, psychically, by the same government program that created 11, a continuation of MK-Ultra and the Montauk Project. The Demogorgon was a manifestation of trauma, a symbol, a spiritual entity seen visually during astral projection. Hawkins Lab faked the body because they had Will. Hawkins Lab controlled the investigation because they caused it. Joyce and Hopper go to the lab at the end because that's where Will is. So what's the Upside Down? It's not a parallel Earth, but a corrupted spiritual dimension accessed through consciousness and fear. Will was trapped there because the lab put him there. Now we're going to get biblical here. The Bible even speaks this way. Demons appear in forms people recognize. The spiritual realm is depicted visually, not physically. People are taken or oppressed spiritually without moving an inch. The Upside Down behaves like Sheol, a shadow realm reflecting our own world. Stranger Things isn't just science fiction, it's a spiritual parable. When Will's finally returned to his family, Will can experience the Upside Down in his own house. No portals involved. That's because whatever they did to him at Hawkins Lab has broken or fractured his mind, based on a fear or trauma response. He's triggered, and he's caught in a dark dimension. So what do you guys think? Do you think a monster kidnapped Will? Or was it government agents from Hawkins Lab depicting what really happened in real life during the Montauk Project and MK-Ultra? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this video, please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And if you want me to do a deeper dive into the final season of Stranger Things, maybe a breakdown of each episode, please let me know in the comments. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this. Love you guys. God bless.